Welcome back, everybody. You're watching Sport Federation TV here on Cape Town TV, DStv channel 263. And as you know, we speak sport in the province. Well, if you've been watching Sport Federation TV, you'll know that equestrian sports is one of the, well, probably the sports code with the most codes in South Africa. In studio with me now, former president, Western Cape Equestrian, but current Administrator of the Year, Sarah Bruckner. Sarah, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks, JP.
You've been talking to us online now for quite a while. It's great to have you in the studio. Of course, not your first time here.
No, of course not, yes.
So let's quickly talk for the folks that are watching for the first time. Equestrian sports, do everybody know still that this is actually the horse sport?
I think so. I think we're getting our message out there. I think people are understanding what we were all about. We have 18 disciplines in the country, of which we're probably active of at least 14 in the Western Cape, and we have 6 districts. And everyone's sort of properly aligned and affiliated. So I think we're doing well, and equestrian is being known as a conglomerate sport.
So when we're talking about there, we're talking about sports like, or codes at least, like gymkhana and show jumping and tent pegging and endurance riding.
Yes, and of course then the 3 disciplines which are Olympic disciplines, which is dressage, show jumping and eventing, yes.
How on earth do you keep your hands on top of all of this? I mean, you've just been given the nomination, or you just won Sports Administrator of the Year. Yes. I mean, this is probably one of the most important, biggest achievements that one can think of in sport, certainly in the Western Cape. I mean, and to win that, and you must really have your hands full. I mean, you just mentioned 18 codes.
Yes. So I think I'm very fortunate in that every code has very good technical people who are, I'd say, semi-autonomous in terms of being able to run their sport in the Cape, especially the technical side of the sport. And we've had to find a way to work together to work on things like, for example, the awarding of colours, which is largely the federation's role, and then the disciplines, their role is technical in terms of the actual selection process. So you can imagine the difference between choosing a polo team and a show jumping team. The selection of that would be quite different with different technical expertise required. So we've been able to sort of mold our various roles and understand those roles, and that's taken a while. As you know, I'm a human resource person by trade or by profession, and so a lot of it is about change management and communication and working together. I'm very pleased the disciplines and the districts have all started to understand their roles, working together on things like also fundraising, applying for funds, things like coordination of the calendar, all the different roles that we have to do, which can sometimes, there's a fair amount of conflict, but we've also found ways in which to deal with that conflict, which I'm very proud of.
Well, you just rattled off probably only some of the things that it takes to become a good sports administrator. I mean, how do you find the time in the day? I mean, talking about 18 different codes, most people battle to manage one.
Well, you know, they always say give a busy person something to do. and you know, people have always asked me, how do you manage to fit everything, you know, in with work and with and also, you know, with your sport. And then, of course, I still officiate at one of the disciplines at quite a high level. But I enjoy it, and and I've got a very supportive family.
And these things, of course, important to make it work in the world of sport.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your code. Your code is, of course, dressage.
Yes.
And you're an international judge.
Yes.
That must also keep you busy and away from home a bit.
It certainly does. So I officiate all over South Africa. I've just come back from the national championships. And I'm also in the process of judging a Africa contest, an inter-Africa contest, where I travel from each of the southern African countries and go and judge the same competition. So that has meant this year, you know, 7 weekends away from home.
A lot of traveling.
Yes.
Which was the countries that you visited?
So I've been to Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Eswatini as it's now called, and Mauritius, and then Kenya. I'm going to Mauritius next month, and then Kenya in December.
Is this all part of the international calendar? Do they tell you where to be and what to do?
Yes, our international body supports this, and specifically for developing nations. So they have different groups. So South Africa is quite advanced in our dressage. So we actually compete with Australia and New Zealand, and I think Korea is one of the other countries. So we compete on that stage. I only judge the South African leg of that in my national capacity, but I'm appointed by the FEI to do the other African countries. Yes.
And do you have to teach other judges or talk to other judges about local judges, for example, about how to become judges?
Yes. So I actually look after the judges and officials portfolio for dressage. So I do organize a lot of training and making sure that people have the right experience, the right coaching and mentoring in order to become judges in South Africa, and then to recommend people and to look for ways for them to get international accreditation. Yes.
And do they have to undergo some sort of testing? Do you have to mark their exam card?
Yes, it's quite rigorous internationally now. We have online exams, and that's been there for the last 3 or 4 years. So that's quite rigorous. And then every third year we have to go across to usually Europe and go and be re-accredited.
Wow, we've got so much information to pour into one interview, but I've got to ask you, one of the big announcements this past weekend was the Sports Team of the Year being Western Cape Saddle Seat.
Yes.
I mean, you guys must be very proud of that.
Oh, very, very proud. So Saddle Seat is basically an equitation type of competition, or rather discipline, mostly ridden on saddle-bred horses, but they can use any horse, and some of them do. And the nice thing about this competition is that they ride on borrowed horses. So we've had the World Cup here in Cape Town before, so these athletes and riders competed for Western Cape and did phenomenally well, and won obviously the Western Cape the national interprovincial competition, and many of them were then chosen and received Protea colours. In fact, the vast majority of them were chosen for the national team to go across to Canada and America.
Jackie Nichols has taken over as president of Western Cape Equestrian now. The two of you obviously have worked together for many years. What is next on the cards for Western Cape Equestrian? Is it a busy calendar? Is it back to club events and club development? I mean, you really got your hands full.
Yes, I think lots of things in terms of grassroots, a lot of work in terms of transformation. So we work a lot with the South African Lipizzaner team, who've got some fabulous riders coming through the works. And we've also nominated a few Western Cape riders who are riding for a solidarity team that are doing really well. Obviously training up officials, so all that is on that list. I think exciting things coming up for next year. We have an international, what they call mounted games. That's a discipline that was started by Prince Philip, which is quite topical. That's happening in December in Stellenbosch. As far as we know, it's going to be happening. Then we've got a 10 pegging competition, a World Cup competition, which is happening in George.
World Championships here in the Western Cape.
Yes, but two in the Western Cape.
2 World Championships.
Yes. And then the national championships have just been awarded to the Western Cape for dressage as well, which will happen at Mystico.
Sarah Bruckner, congratulations again, Sports Administrator of the Year. Good luck for the national competition, because now you're up against the other provinces.
Thanks. Yes.
And from my side, it's really well deserved. I think equestrian sports are really lucky to have you.
Yeah, if I can just finally say is that you can get this award, but it's also an accolade to all the team members that are part, and they're vast, a huge team that supports this. So thanks very much, JP.
There we go, folks. Sarah Bruckner, Western Cape Equestrian, and said there with, well, true humility, the typical voice of a champion. Folks, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll carry on talking sport in the province. Back in a sec. Don't go away.